In this video, I will show you several driving concepts that are useful at every level of basketball and will help you become a better scorer once you understand and implement them. Driving well comes down to winning two battles. The first battle is the takeoff battle. Everyone has heard the phrase, attack the hip. The only problem with this is that if you attack the hip and your defender slides, then you will hit their chest, which is what they want. So make sure your angle isn't too tight. Your goal at the beginning of the drive is to hit the outside thirds of your defender so that you can open their hips up and force them to run with you. This is why attacking the palms is better than attacking the hips. If you attack their palm and they try to slide, then you will ideally hit your shoulder to their hip, which is what the attack the hip term is intended to mean. If you attack the palm and they don't slide, you've effectively opened your defender's hips and won the first battle. You will also hear coaches emphasize the importance of getting outside of your defender's hips. If you can attack your defender's palms, that will put you outside of their hips by definition, so ideally you don't need to worry so much about getting outside of their frame. But against defenders who are quicker laterally, it may be useful to know how to shift them to get their hips out of your way, or to bound yourself to get outside of their hips. When trying to get outside of a defender's frame, lots of players will just use subtle lateral movements to inch out to the side a little bit and improve their angle before taking off. This is where your perimeter moves come into play. Shifting your defender out of the way can also be very useful, because sometimes if you take a driving angle at your defender's palms, you will drive into help. So by moving your defender out of the way, you can take a tighter angle and squeeze by the help.
37%. The price. Irving, penetration, back to Thompson.
Most of the time though, your defender won't play you straight up. They will shade you to a side. You can either go in the direction they want you to or attack the upper foot depending on which side has an open driving lane. Here's how you take advantage of each situation. If you drive the way they want you to, then it's important that you attack their bottom foot. Don't simply go in that direction. This will leave room between you and the defender and give them a chance to make a play on the ball. Attacking the bottom foot forces the defender to take that foot away and let you in front, which is what you want.
Shot clock to 7. Got it.
Let's say you attack the top foot. Make sure your drive isn't rounded on top foot attacks because this can give the defense more time to recover. Sometimes you may need to be physical and punch through their top shoulder. This will force them to open their hips and give you an advantage.
Great response from Minnesota. Curry gets past.
But also, don't force the drive at the top foot, because then it's easy for your defender to stay in front. If your defender is too high on their top foot, then you can fake a drive at the bottom foot, then attack the upper foot if they fall for the fake.
Simons, the crossover through the wickets into the... Curry with Bridges on him and gets by him.
It's also important to make sure you get your arm in front on the takeoff. You can do this by swimming that arm over, or simply putting your forearm in the defender's rib cage and keeping it there. This lets you fight for position and keep your shoulder in front of your defender.
Love the physicality on defense too.
As well, momentum on their side. On the attack.
Remember this, if you see chest, right? If you see chest, what do you do? So let's say if I attack and I see chest, boom, I counter. If I see shoulder, I keep going. Before I get to that spot, if I see shoulder, I'm dipping. If I see your chest before I get to that spot, boom, I'm countering. You know what I mean?
Okay. If you see chest, that means the defense cut you off and you should change directions or separate and shoot. And if you see the bottom shoulder, it means you can drive through it. If you see the top shoulder, I think it is up to you to feel out whether you should get in front or counter. The quicker you can make this read, the better. Changing directions too early is much better than changing directions too late.
Talk about a guy that gets hot quick. And the new Frank Vogel tells us, Gilgeous Alexander got Mitchell works on the Superman. Mitchell works on Kisper. Knew he had a miss.
After you change directions, you almost reset your takeoff, and the goal is to punch through the outside third of your defender now that you have decelerated and put them in a bad position. A key here is that you need to get good at keeping your dribble out of change of direction moves and then getting the next dribble forward as quickly as possible. Don't make the mistake of taking a soft angle after the change of direction, because that's how the defense wins.
Kyrie Irving inside.
Let's assume you win the takeoff battle. Now you move into the battle of getting a strong driving angle that will allow you to get to the rim and not be forced away into a bad shot or finish. Especially at higher levels of basketball, just blowing by your defender and going to lay it up is often a better outcome for the defense. Usually it's best to get in front of your defender and make them jump through your back to block the finish. Unless you can dunk, then it doesn't matter. In this clip, the white dude gets blocked because he leaves room for his defender to jump and make a play. But then later he figures out to get in front of his defender and gets 3 layups in a row without being blocked.
Good, man. Yes. You got time out if you go ahead. No, this is tough.
It doesn't need to be a big change in your angle to get in front. Just a subtle veer step is all you will need most times.
5% is too high because he's not shooting enough.
Then we're closing this gap as soon as possible, and then I want you to go finish. We got a little bit too much space between me and you. Close that gap. Yep. Go, 1, 2.
Sometimes you won't be able to blow by completely. These are situations where it's important to be able to stay on your line. Persistence is also a consistent intangible in most players who are good at getting to the rim. You have to be able to fight through contact and persist to stay on your line or get through your defender. Changing directions isn't always the right decision, and having a feel for whether or not you can keep persisting and get by is important. One way to think of this second battle is that it's a race to the rim. You have your line and your defender has their line. Sometimes your defender will start to win that race and your lines will cross, which is fine. This is where your hang finishes, slow steps, bump euros, and other finishing counters come into play.
Gets past Green, throws it up and in.
He made Martin look foolish there. What a...
Avion getting some extended minutes.
The beginning of races along these tight angles is where many stepbacks and snatchbacks are used. Your defender is in a position where they have fully committed to trying to win that race, and if you put on the brakes, they will probably be out of position.
It's before halftime, first couple coming out. Coaches always talk about Gilgis Alexander stops on another.
Matchup with Davion on SGA.
Oh, a little push off.
Staying on your line is important to be able to do sometimes, but most drives don't work that cleanly. Most successful drives start curved out wide, or at a soft angle on the takeoff, then end with the offense initiating contact or quickly sharpening their angle. Other times you may just initiate contact at the very end of the drive. It's imperative that you fix your angle after a wide takeoff, because if you don't, you can get forced into a wide drive and a tough shot. Swing steps are a great move to improve your position physically, without much risk of your defender taking a charge.
There you go, he too low. Yes, sir. Oh, my God.
Go get him. He went away from the double, but the John Calipari has at his disposal off the bench. Dillingham, that one will rip.
Edwards drives through, flips it up.
He finds Fox. Fox back on the floor after 2 early fouls. Drops it.
Curry off the bounce, gets inside, layup is up and good. That Beal on a couple switches here.
The opposite is also true. Sometimes, rather than starting your angle wide and closing it, you will start your angle tight and have to take a step out to continue the drive.
Bones, 2 to shoot. Bones. Driving, stops, off glass.
You won't be able to think about stuff like this in the game, which is why it's important to get a lot of live practice so you can work on these tendencies on a live defender and develop the feel you need. If you want to learn some good change of speed tools, watch this video.